I did it. I quit my corporate job. I've left the corporate world. I pretty much quit my job and flew to the other side of the world. And I would say the last 6 months, my life really changed. I never make the same amount of money as I make in corporate. That reputation of what would people think if that's my job? Whilst this is so exciting, it's also really terrifying. Hey guys, I hope you're all really well. Thank you so much for watching my videos and watching this one. I think this video is going to be really long. It's completely unscripted and I've been meaning to make this video for a while. I'm sure a lot of you do follow me on Instagram, but if you don't, I am actually filming from Costa Rica. I pretty much quit my job and flew to the other side of the world, and yep, I said it. I quit my job again. So my first ever YouTube video on this channel was I quit my Big Four job. But as many of you know, I left one Big Four to join another Big Four as I moved from audit to consulting, and that was already a huge part of my journey, and that was a year ago, literally a year ago exactly. And now I'm making another video because I quit my Big Four job for good. I feel like we need a round of applause for that one because I just never thought I would ever do that. I also just left the corporate world entirely and I'm having a huge career change. I'm taking a huge risk, and as terrifying as it is, I'm so excited, and this video is going to be talking about literally that decision, why I quit my job, what I'm doing now, what I plan to do in the future. So if that is something you're interested in, or if you're thinking about doing something similar, then hopefully this video will help you. And as I said, it's not scripted, so I'm literally just going to be talking out loud with you. I don't feel like there's right or wrong way to do things, right or wrong careers to have. This is literally just my story and I'm excited to be sharing it with you. I want to rewind and go back to day one, and I know most of you probably do know the background, but for anyone new who's watching this, and I can actually talk about the firms I worked at now, because up till this point many of you will know I actually haven't said which firms I worked at because I wasn't allowed to for like independence, confidentiality reasons. I studied economics and politics at the University of Nottingham. I then did an internship with PwC in my second year. I love the firm. I still do really love the firm. I'll always talk highly about it. Then moved on to do a graduate scheme at PwC in audit for 3 years, where I qualified as an ACA, which is a chartered accountant. By the end of those 3 years and 3 busy seasons, and my third one being particularly rough on me, I decided that audit wasn't for me and I just couldn't see myself staying in it any longer or doing another busy season at worst. And so I was lucky enough to be headhunted for a role at KPMG, which is another Big Four, and I just thought the timing was right and it just made sense for me to take the risk and move. Now that role was in consulting, so it was in management consulting and within the capital market space. So it was pretty much what I was doing in audit, but in consulting. So I thought it was a perfect decision for me, and I'd always thought about moving to consulting long term. And if I was going to do anything, I feel like I would be a consultant in the corporate space. I had a really interesting year at KPMG, I'd say. I think particularly because the whole onboarding process was from home. It just wasn't the same as being in an office, and I felt like that really did impact my enjoyment, my job satisfaction, how much I developed on the job. And on top of that, halfway through the year, I ended up tearing my ACL, and so obviously I had to have an operation, which put a huge stunt to my ability to go into the office, my ability to develop, my ability to even learn, because I had to take literally 6 weeks out to recover from that. So all of these things were kind of building up, and I was questioning, like, is it me? Is it the role? Is it the firm? Is it the division? Like, all of these things, I just knew that I wasn't really that happy and I wasn't really enjoying what I was doing. But at the same time, I felt like really grateful that I'd even been given the opportunity to do a consulting role at a Big Four, because I know a lot of people want a role like that. It paid well for the hours I was working. I had a great work-life balance, and I was learning, just not the way I was at PwC and not the way I was when I was in the office. So all of these things were kind of going through my mind, and I was there exactly 1 year. And during that entire time of me being in audit, moving to consultancy, when lockdown hit, as many of you all know, I really started like investing time in my social media channels. Working from home meant I had so much more time to dedicate to downloading TikTok and just like jumping on that app in the evenings, and on the weekends I would like shoot content for Instagram. And gradually over the last 2 years I've ended up building such huge platforms with really high engagement and like large impressions and reaches and audiences across all 3 of my platforms. And I've really worked hard at it, but I've also really enjoyed it. So that's kind of been ticking along in the background, and I would say the last 6 months my life on social media and that aspect of that career really changed. I hosted a concert with Bambi Baines, Jazz Darmy, H Darmy, Coombs, with the Bollywood Co. I ended up getting a radio show on the BBC Asian Network, which is insane. I've had like many photo shoots with high-end Indian designers, and all of these things, when I was just kind of doing them and like saying yes to every opportunity, I don't think it really hit me that like I was achieving these sorts of things. When it did eventually hit me and I looked back at everything and I was like, wow, like I've achieved so much in such a short space of time. I really could do something with this. And at the same time, I was really like researching into influencing, marketing, social media consulting, social media management, just generally what kind of jobs were in that space. So as my social media was really growing and kind of like my job satisfaction in the corporate space was declining, I was like reaching this kind of equilibrium where I felt like if either my social media or my corporate job were to progress any further, I would have to sacrifice the other. And I just felt like I'd reached that maximum point where I was giving both 100% of me, but it was impossible because it literally felt like it got to a point where I was doing 2 full-time jobs. But it did get to a point where I just felt like I'm either going to have to really focus on becoming the best consultant I can be in developing in the capital market space and just really climbing that corporate ladder, as many people do, and you know, work towards the next 10 years at being a partner. Or I could take a bit of a jump and take a bit of a risk and really explore what the social media side and career had to offer. Obviously, one is a lot safer than the other, and one was a lot more secure in terms of job security, in terms of regular salary. There were so many things that I was thinking about, and I will get into them. But ultimately, I decided that I'm so young, I don't have any commitments in terms of a husband, kids, house. And if I was going to take that risk, now would be the perfect time to do it. And I just think life's too short to not take risks, and I 100% would look back at this decision and regret it if I didn't take this risk. So I ultimately decided to resign after a year. So I felt like a year was enough time for me to gain enough experience under my belt to really dip my feet into consulting. And if in the future I ever wanted to get back into consulting in the corporate space, I could. But also if I wanted to become my own consultant as a freelancer, whether it was in financial services or social media, I had enough experience to do so. So I made the decision, I resigned. KPMG were actually really great about it because they knew about my social media, and it's something that I was having really open conversations with them about. They actually gave me some annual leave to really just think about what I wanted to do, and they even gave me the option to go on like unpaid leave, so a sabbatical, if I wanted more time to really think about what it is I wanted to do. But within 2 weeks of taking annual leave and like actually acting like a full-time creator for those 2 weeks, I just had the best 2 weeks of my life, and I literally could plan my days as I wanted to. I went out and networked with people every day. I went on photo shoots, I created content, I was having meetings with brands, I was having meetings about radio shows. Like, it was just doing things that were fun that I didn't realize could be jobs. So those 2 weeks really just like made me just think, you know what, I'm meant to be doing this, or at least right now this is the right decision for me. And then I made the decision and went to my people leader and I told him, like, this is what I want to do. I think I want to just dedicate all my time and energy into social media right now, and I feel like I can't fulfill the consulting role like I want to, so ultimately I want to resign. Normally the resignation period would be 3 months, but because they knew about my social media and they knew the situation and I'd just rolled off a project, they actually came to a really mutual agreement with me where I had 1 to 2 weeks to sort my laptop out, sort my HR, payroll, P45, P60, all that stuff. And within 2 weeks, I handed my laptop in and taken a plane to Costa Rica. That's a long story short of how I came to that decision, how it all happened, and where I'm at now. I did want to talk about just like the thought process of everything in a bit more depth, because I do realise that a lot of people are considering making the shift from employment to self-employment, to do more entrepreneurial things, to own their own businesses, to be freelancers. And there's a lot of feelings that we all go through, and a lot of fear, a lot of questioning ourselves. And I kind of wanted to talk about what I thought about when making this decision, because trust me, it wasn't easy. First of all, my biggest fear was money, and I'm not afraid to admit that because I have always been someone who is very financially driven. I've always looked at how hard my parents worked to give my brother and I a life that they never had, and I always wanted to do the same for my children. And the way my parents did that was working in really safe and secure financial services jobs. And I do believe like the way the system is constructed in the UK is like, does favour those sorts of jobs, because it's much easier to get a mortgage when you have a salary. It's much easier to get a mortgage when you're employed. And so there were lots of things in terms of financial stability that I was just really scared, and I didn't really want to leave a job that was paying me a decent amount, considering it was a big four, for the actual hours I was doing in the day. It was definitely scary to think about not having that amount of sum come through every month, because that's a lot of money. So financial stability was a huge reason why I probably haven't made the decision sooner. But I also have to then consider the kind of opportunity cost of me not working and the amount of time I have now gained from not working a 9 to 6. It means all of those hours I can actually put into building my brand, reaching out to brands, creating content. And honestly, the social media industry and content creation and influencing as a whole is a very financially lucrative business. I just didn't really realize it, and I think I've always been undercharging for my services. I've always been doing collaborations. I've always been doing a lot for free, especially for South Asian brands. If you follow me on Instagram, you'll know my whole rant about that. So I always felt like I could never really do this full time, because I could never make the same amount of money as I make in corporate. But I was so wrong. And I think the last 3 to 4 months, I was actually proving to myself that I can make the same, if not more, than I was making in corporate. And that was just in my spare time. So I really did feel like I owed it to myself to at least give myself the chance to try and do it full time. I think the whole thing in this is that, like, the worst that can happen is it doesn't work out and I can go back to corporate. I'm ACA qualified. I've done consulting at a big four firm. Like, I think I had a huge weight lifted off my shoulder when I realized that, like, worst case scenario, I can always just go and get another job and I'll never be like on the street homeless, because I'm very fortunate that I live at home and I will always have a roof over my head because of my parents. So I kind of eliminated that risk and that fear of money, and I just thought I have to give myself the opportunity to try. Second thing that I was kind of concerned about, and I really shouldn't be, is kind of like that reputation of what would people think if that's my job. Doing social media is such a new space and it's such a new industry, and it's not really a respected job the way being a doctor, a dentist, a lawyer, an accountant is. As much as I don't care what people think, I definitely do want to be respected in the industry that I'm working in. And I was kind of scared that, me working my entire life, GCSEs, A-levels, my economics degree, my ACA qualification, my grad scheme, I was just like throwing out the window for an industry that I don't really have experience in other than what I've built on my own. And that to me is terrifying. The way I overcame that was that everything that I have worked towards to essentially be in the corporate space are all skills that I've gained that I can actually use towards my own business and my own brand, and I have already been doing that without realising. So it wasn't a waste, and actually I'm so ready to prove everyone wrong, because I know there'll be aunties somewhere that are like, oh, that's her job now. But I'm so ready to prove them wrong and show like what I can build and what I can achieve and the success that can come from it. Because I do think a lot of people are scared to take that risk, or they don't have something built up on the side or in the background for them to take the risk. And if that is you and you haven't yet, established a side hustle or figured out what you want to do, I would 100% recommend commence that and have it ticking along in the background while you are working, because for me, it's much less scary taking the jump now, knowing that I actually have already built something for myself. I actually do run an entire business doing this. So it's much less scary knowing I have that to jump to rather than like starting from scratch and absolutely nothing. So reputationally, I just have to stop caring what people think. Yes, it's not your typical job, and yes, it's not your traditional job that South Asians do. My parents are fully supportive of me. They've seen what I've done. They really respect what I do, and that's honestly the only people that I'm worried about. The other thing that I was questioning was like, will I find it boring? Now, I literally in every single podcast I've ever done, I always get asked, are you ever going to be a full-time influencer? Are you ever going to do content creation full-time? And I would literally be like, no, like absolutely not. The corporate space and being in financial services is so like intellectually stimulating and challenging. Looking at financial instruments and hedge accounting is like thrilling. Really and truly, is it? I don't know. I think, yes, it was very challenging, but was it something I truly enjoyed and I felt like I could do for the rest of my life? Probably not. I'm someone who thrives off being challenged. Like, I don't like having a job that's just like easy peasy. I want something that is going to keep me entertained and keep my brain ticking. And actually, running your own business is probably one of the most challenging jobs because you're on your own. So actually that really excites me. I know that it's not going to be boring, and I know that I'm still going to be really stimulated. So yeah, it is definitely not going to be boring. The other huge thing, which was never really a reason not to do it, but it's something I am definitely having to be very cautious and aware of, is that when your job is social media, and I say social media because I'm using like this umbrella term of social media because I still haven't really 100% figured out what I'm doing, but doing social media means it's on your phone, it's on your laptop, it's wherever you go. And so I could be scrolling through bed at night and receive an email and it's an amazing opportunity. I'm not gonna be like, no, it's out of my working hours, I'm gonna look at it in the morning. So I feel like there's really a difficulty with a work-life balance in this sort of role, especially when you work for yourself. Like, everything you do is for yourself. All the money you make is for yourself. All the deals you secure are for yourself. So why would you not want to do it 24/7? I don't know if that's like a very unhealthy obsession, probably quite toxic, but that's how I am as a person. And so I need to make sure that I am taking time to just switch off and literally lock my phone and my laptop away, because it will be really hard for me to set boundaries to say, this is actually your job now. Like, it's not your hobby that you're doing in your spare time. Like, you shouldn't be doing it every single minute that you get that you're not working, because this is work. Now I want to talk about kind of like why. Like, why did I actually choose to do this? First of all, I never thought I would be in a position like this anyway. When I was at school, I remember, even at uni, I used to watch the brown YouTubers, but only like 5, I would say, not even, makeup tutorials, their clothing hauls and things. Like, I would watch it and I would think, wow, that's so cool. But I never thought it's something I could do. Like, that was never really the path that was laid out for me or I never envisioned for myself. But actually building the brand and building the platforms I have over the 2 years show you that anyone can do it, and it happened so naturally for me that I'm just really grateful that I've been able to turn my passions and my side hustle into a main hustle. That is kind of like why, because it was like, why not? If I've done that and I put myself in this amazing position, I'm so fortunate, why would I not? And I also think a big reason why I wanted to do it is because I now have control over my time, my energy, the work I do. I can pick and choose who I work with. I can say yes and no to things. It's literally all in my control. Yeah, I just didn't think it could be a job. Like, honestly, social media has changed so many people's lives. That brings me on to what I want to talk about next, which is what is next. So as I mentioned, I am still very much figuring out what I want to do. I'm in a very fortunate position where I've already built up a great network. I've built up so many connections with brands. I have an influx of work coming in already for the next few months. And so I'm just going to concentrate on doing all of that. So watch this space. Please do follow me on my socials. Like, I'm going to have to plug it so much now because it's literally my full-time job. But yeah, please follow me on Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn. I will link everything below because it really will help me out now that this is like my only form of income. So yeah, you're really helping me out by doing all of that. Drop a comment below if you're in the same position or you've been following me from day one, because if you have, I just need to take a moment to like say thank you, because at the end of the day, I wouldn't be able to do social media full time if people like you didn't watch this video or support me. It is because of you I'm able to do this, because of all of you, and I'm so grateful, and I think I will like never forget that. My content is always to benefit you. It's to inspire, to educate, to give you recommendations, to help make your lives easier and better, and I will always keep that at the forefront of my content and my job and my business, no matter what direction it goes in. But yeah, I wanted to end this video by saying a huge thank you. I did it. I quit my corporate job. I've left the corporate world. No more Big Four. This is to new beginnings and a new chapter. And if you're thinking about doing it, just do it too. Like, join me on this journey of self-employment, entrepreneurship. If you have any suggestions of videos, DM me, comment below. Like, all the advice and help and support, I will take on every single ounce of it, because whilst this is so exciting, it's also really terrifying. I just love you all so much. Thank you so much for watching this video, and I will catch you guys in the next video. Lots of love. Bye.